So at this point, I think it's safe to say that Bluey has become a really popular show. And for those who don't know what it is, it's mainly about a blue heeler dog named, well, Bluey, who often goes on fun adventures with her sister, family, and friends alike, playing games, having creative ideas, and other fun for the whole family. The show itself began life as an idea by Joe Brumm, who was inspired by the hit show Peppa Pig, and essentially wanted to make his own version of it. And after some support, it was made into a short test pilot back in 2016, followed by another, longer pilot in 2017, which would eventually become the basis for the Season 1 episode, The Weekend. And upon its release in 2018, the show became a large hit in Australia, gaining the views and acclaim of audiences all across the country, with many praising the show for its notable qualities, as well as its representation of life in Queensland, as the show does take place in the city of Brisbane. However, as time went on, others began to see potential in the show, which led to deals with notable companies in the entertainment industry, such as the BBC and even Disney, who helped distribute the show to other places such as the UK and US, where even more people heard about the show, leading to, of course, more viewers and fans. And then, of course, the thing happened in 2020. I can't say it out loud, but you probably know what I'm talking about. When a lot of people were in lockdown and had to stay at home, where many spent their time watching movies or shows. And here, lots of other people, out of curiosity or simply boredom, discovered this series, and as you can imagine, the show witnessed another notable uptake in popularity. And since then, the show's popularity has continued to grow, gaining new episodes, characters, viewers, and merchandise alike. And overall, Bluey seems to have now become a household name, with tons of posts online, videos, and even a live show. And despite airing on channels aimed towards young children, the show has seemingly connected with all ages alike, ranging from infants, toddlers, kids, teens, adults, and parents. In fact, I've even heard of seniors and elders who enjoyed this show as well. So, to say the least, it does have quite the following. However, as of the end of 2022 and this current year, I've begun to notice something a bit odd. Now, I just might be biased because, well, I always talk about the show and so do my friends, as we've been fans for a while, but these days, it seems as if not just lots of people, but literally everyone is talking about this show. And on my timeline in places such as Twitter, there is fan art, edits, and posts praising the show everywhere you look. Like, you literally cannot escape it, which honestly, I'm actually okay with. And these aren't just existing fans either, because many of these people appear to be first-time viewers, or those who haven't seen the show until recently, but have already fallen in love with it. And it's even gotten to the point that many notable creators have also taken notice, with Eddache and Saberspark being my favorite examples, alongside plenty of others. So with this in mind, it kind of raises the question, why have so many people been talking about this show now, and why have so many of them stuck around as fans? Well, today, I'm gonna try and answer both questions. And yes, before anyone mentions it, I know a few people have already covered this topic. And I'll admit that this video is not really an original idea, but with all of the somewhat recent and new activity, I thought it would be nice to make a more updated and larger video, as well as offer my own personal thoughts on the situation. But without further ado, let's begin! So regarding where all of these new viewers came from, there are a couple plausible reasons. But first, let's talk about one of the biggest reasons: TikTok. No, I am not kidding, I'm actually serious. And before I explain what happened, I should mention that I'm not the biggest fan of TikTok, as I do have an account, but for some reason, I just never really got into the shorter content like most people. I'm not too sure why, but I just wanted to point that out, as my knowledge on the app is limited, but I will try and make a best guess based on what I do know. For instance, one thing I noticed is that you can just straight up watch full episodes of Bluey on there. Now, this sounds kind of crazy because, well, it is, and I wouldn't consider viewing a 7-minute episode in 10 to 20 something parts, minimized to a vertical screen, the most ideal viewing experience, but people have made it possible, and they don't seem to get taken down for some weird reason. I'm not sure if it's too difficult for them to make a copyright claim or if they just straight up don't care, but these clips and full episodes tend to get a ton of views. And considering how TikTok works, it wouldn't surprise me if these videos were also recommended to those who have, well, never ever seen the show, as I feel like stuff just kind of gets recommended randomly on there, and once you get hooked, it just keeps sending more and more and more. Like, the stuff just starts coming and it don't stop coming, fed to the rules and it hit the ground running. However, Bluey hasn't just been blowing up on TikTok, but everywhere else as well. For instance, on places such as Twitter and Instagram, many have been uploading their fan art of the show, which is then of course looked at by other people, who in themselves become curious and make their own fan art, which then repeats the cycle of introducing more people to the show. And a while back, there was this big trend where artists were turning the characters into humans, and I gotta admit, the work they made is actually really impressive. And of course, we can't forget about YouTube, mainly because this is how I actually got introduced to the show, and well, mainly because I just want to pretend that I actually played a role in this. But jokes aside, Bluey does have quite the presence here as well, as similar to TikTok, YouTube also has a good amount of clips, reviews, analysis videos, theories, edits, and so much more, all of which serve as a pretty good introduction to the show. And as mentioned before, not only have smaller, new YouTubers been talking about Bluey, but also many larger and more established creators, which of course exposes their audience to the show and gets even more people interested, especially since most of them seem to view the show in a positive light. And honestly, it's kind of crazy seeing how many videos there are of Bluey now, because as a creator who's been doing this for roughly 2 years, I still remember when only a small handful of videos existed, and it actually kind of disappointed me how many people didn't know about this show, which is what actually inspired me to make my own reviews and videos. But seeing all of the creators and content now, it's like watching a small village grow into a mega metropolis, because despite all of the new arrivals, chaos, and overwhelming energy, you can't help but think that, yeah, this is pretty cool. So outside of social media, I have a feeling that merch may also play a role in the show's growing popularity. Now of course, the merch is mainly made for people who, oh I don't know, already watched the show, but one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is that merch can not only appeal to existing fans, but also serve as an advertisement to others. Because after you see something so much, but have no clue what it is, you're bound to get curious. And regarding the merch for Bluey, it is literally everywhere, at least where I live, because I know there's still a lot of places that don't have any merch. A true disaster for humanity, I know. However, for the sake of example, I'll be focusing on the United States, which is where I live and of course, see Bluey merch pretty often. Not to say that other countries don't have any. I mean, Australia literally has every product imaginable with Bluey's face on it. But in the US, the blue dog is still pretty prevalent, as just from recent experience alone, I found her at basically every major retailer, ranging from big box stores like Walmart and Target, department stores like Ross and Macy's, and even dollar stores like Dollar General. And the products themselves have quite the range as well, including toys, games, bicycles, holiday ornaments, clothes, and whatever these things are. Actually, I'm pretty sure these are mainly sold in the UK, but they're just too cursed not to mention. And when you start to see this stuff everywhere, people are naturally going to get curious. So I wouldn't be too surprised if some people saw these items in stores, especially since they're seemingly inescapable, and then from there, found out what the show was actually about, and became a new fan. So with everything said, you might be wondering, Mr. Airbnb Dogman, that's great people found this show, but why do so many of them stick around, instead of just, you know, leaving and moving on? Well, overall, I think it comes to a lot of factors, but for the sake of time, I'll try to summarize. As mentioned before, many often praise the show for its high qualities, not just in one category, but let me check my notes and basically everything, as many have pointed out the show's clever writing, fun humor, amazing voice actors, stellar classical inspired music, and its great use of art and animation. See y'all, I wasn't that crazy when I said this show was something special, I was just early to the party. However, I think another very important aspect comes from its characters, and its strong relatability, as unlike some other kids or family cartoons, Bluey is mostly grounded in reality, well apart from the fact that, you know, they're colorful, walking, talking dogs, but more often than not, most of their situations, stories, and humor often comes from real-life moments and incidents, with the writer and creator Joe Brum often using his own experience as a father for inspiration, which gives the show a really relatable, yet grounded premise that's easy to get into. And on top of that, lots of people have also found great comfort in the show. Yeah, I know, it's kind of a meme that adults find it their comfort show and steal merch from children? Wait, what? But jokes aside, it's honestly refreshing to see a family that, while containing flaws, actually gets along. And to see a show where the parents are actually trying to be good. Especially since in these days, it can feel like toxic people are everywhere, both in the media and real life. And considering how many people have had difficult relationships with parents, or didn't have these figures in their lives at all, I think it's really special to see a show where the parents are actually comforting and kind. And essentially, it acts as a form of escapism, because let's be honest, yeah, you might think your mom or dad are the greatest parents in the world, but nothing compares to these two. They're just the absolute goats of TV parents. And maybe it's just me, but this show also kind of gives me a feeling of nostalgia? Because whenever I watch this show, I always get good memories of when I used to be the age of Bluey or even Bingo, such as building elaborate sets out of mundane household objects to create cool places, or pretending to do various grown-up jobs, and even viewing the world in this very curious yet innocent way, without the negative influence of things such as society or stress in general. I remember when I was younger and I was into drawing so much I scribbled all over my dad's entire house in marker. Sharpie marker. And yeah, he was not happy to say the least. Escape this was not, but regardless, it does kind of give me a sense of ease in that regard. And not to mention the show as a whole is just phenomenal, as it's really one of those things you kind of have to see for yourself. So with the massive popularity of Bluey as of recently, I am so happy to see this show finally get the recognition it deserves. And whether it'll end up like something such as the My Little Pony fandom, especially with history seemingly repeating itself, well that could lead to a lot of things, but only time will honestly tell. However, with that said, I want to know how you discovered the show, or if this video was actually your first exposure, and whether you'll be giving it a shot or not. But with that said, that's all I have for today, and with that, B&B Productions will be signing out. Have a great day everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye everyone! So for today's art feature, we have this wonderful piece by artist DreamyPond on Twitter. Now, she's actually made quite a lot of fan art for me, so special shout out to her, and thank you for all the wonderful drawings.